Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An hour of action, drama, and espionage. Mandel-Kramer and Don-MacLaughlin starring in an episode of Counterspy. This episode, which has to do with civil defense and people messing with the civil defense program, originally broadcast January 21st, 1951.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy, calling Washington.
United States Counterspy, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad.
Tonight's Counterspy report to the American people is brought to you in cooperation with the New York State Civil Defense Commission.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Baltimore and to the national headquarters of Super America Incorporated. And here is the chairman of Super America Incorporated, Henry Harrison Hector.
I have called this emergency meeting of you, our key Super America leaders from all over the country, to discuss the new crisis confronting our nation. The possibility of attack from the air by conventional means and, we fear, atomic bombs. All over the country, citizens are rallying to their local civil defense organizations. But as in every crisis, everything cannot be left to government officials. It is up to us, Super Americans, to provide leadership. Wherever patriotic work is to be done, there you must see a Super American. Should disaster strike from the skies, it will be our Super American task to form the very backbone of civil defense.
You're right.
I see that you all understand. Presently, my secretary, Della Crane, will hand you your individual assignment sheets. We must make the civil defense of the United States our great objective. Thank you for your attention.
Very good speech, Mr. Hector.
I'll be sorry to lose you, Della. Are you sure you and Steve will be happy in Finnsburg?
No, but I'll do my best. Steve's already been out there, found an apartment and a job.
The bonds between Super Americans are very strong.
Better excuse me, Mr. Hector. I've got to give out the assignment sheet.
By all means, Della. Give us just a few weeks, and I think we Super Americans will turn civil defense into civil collapse.
Let's continue, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? As you know, my name is Blair. I'm the zone director. I'm very happy to see so many new volunteers here tonight. And during this week, I expect to make the final assignments. Aircraft spotters, communications helpers, medical aid helpers, and so on. I feel that by the end...
Mr. Blair, may I ask a question?
Why, certainly, Mr. Crane.
Well, do I understand you correctly that assignments haven't all been made yet?
Well, that's right, Mr. Crane. Most of the time so far has been spent in planning. Does that cover your question?
Well, yes, I guess so. For now, anyway.
As I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, most of the time has been spent in planning, from the top down. We get our overall plans from the National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington, then through our state director, down through our city director here in Finnsburg. Since this particular zone covers the most important industrial section of the city, this building is the main control center for the entire city. Now, are there any radio hams among you? Amateur radio operators?
Well, I know.
2, 3, 4. 4, that's fine. After the meeting, will you please report to Mr. Avery? That's Mr. Avery over by the window. You'll become the nucleus of a special squad to go right to the scenes of any disasters and report back by radio. Now, the next Yes, Mr. Crane?
Say, Mr. Blair, I'm new here, and maybe I oughtn't to open my yap, but... say, would you mind if I come right up front there so everybody can hear me?
No, not at all. Come right ahead.
I just take this whole thing so darn serious. Well, folks, my name's Steve Crane, and I just hit this fine city of yours today, and boy, from what I've seen so far, I'm going to be mighty happy about it. Yes, sir. Well, I've been sitting and listening to the interesting things Mr. Blair's been outlining, and I'm here to say that everything sounds great. The only trouble is, and I don't know just what we can do about it, the trouble is not much is definite. So much is still in the planning stage, you know what I mean?
Well, Mr. Crane, I might explain to you...
I know you can't just do things without planning. We're all intelligent enough to know that, but here's what bothers me. Suppose somebody drops a bomb on us tomorrow. Where are we? Hiding our heads under a plan? No, I hate to criticize, and I don't want any of you to think that that's what I'm doing, but holy smoke, what's been going on here since the trouble started in Korea way back in June?
Mr. Crane, I think you ought to realize...
I know these things take time, but we've got to work faster or nothing's any good. Being almost ready is like not being ready at all. Holy smoke, we'd all be better off getting out of the city. Now, what do you say we all...
Mr. Crane, please. I understand that to a newcomer like yourself, it may seem we've done very little. But I don't want anybody here to forget the enormous amount of work that's been done. Why...
Sure, Mr. Blair, I'm right behind you. And like I said, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I don't want anybody to kid themselves. How much time do you think we've got? We've got to...
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Please, let's have some order and discipline here. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Counterspy headquarters from District 3, City 9. Local civil defense moving very slowly here lately. State director believes people generally unaware of real danger. This field office lending personnel to step up recruiting.
To Counterspy headquarters from District 19, City 3. Civil defense here at virtual standstill. Volunteers not carrying out assigned duties. This field office consulting with director. Will advise.
And we've been getting them like that from various spots all over the country, Mr. Harding.
Strange. Sort of a sudden paralysis.
The National Director of Civil Defense thinks that people just don't realize the danger.
I wonder. Well, people are all talking about the danger of war, of a sudden atomic attack. 2 days ago, I was in Ohio. It's a live subject there. Same in New York, on the West Coast, everywhere. Tremendous interest. All of a sudden, according to these reports, it dies out.
You're right back at the beginning, Chief. People just don't realize...
Peters, I'm not one of those who blames the people every time something goes wrong. Not until I'm sure nothing else is wrong. Peters, how many of our agents are now unassigned in the first classification?
Oh, maybe 10 or a dozen.
Well, good. Get those men together tonight here in my office. You be here, too.
I see you've got a scheme.
Yes, that's right. Now, from all these reports, we're going to pick out the localities having the most trouble. Then you fellows are going into those cities undercover to join the civil defense groups as ordinary citizens to find out, if you can, what's wrong.
And frankly, I must admit, ladies and gentlemen, I've had to turn in a disappointing report to City Defense Headquarters. Not about you who are here, but about those who have been dropping out. And so tonight, I've got to ask you to get in touch with everyone you know. Find out why they seem so uninterested in what we're doing here. And
Say, Mr. Blair.
Yes, Mr. Crane?
I can tell you right now what's eating everybody. I mean, those who aren't here.
Oh, can you?
I've talked to lots of people trying to get them in here to work, and they all say, what's the use? Nothing's ready. We're not getting the help we need from Washington. And I tell them, well, it's up to us, too.
Excuse me, please.
Yes?
If you'll allow me to interrupt the other speaker.
Well, yes, go ahead.
Well, I agree with what he says. People just don't have any faith in the civil defense outfits. And my name is Peterson. I've just come to Finnsburg. I'm a reporter on the Finnsburg Press. And let me tell you, we are helpless. And I just don't see any point in continuing...
Excuse me, Mr. Peterson, but I don't see any point in discouraging ourselves. And that's what we're doing, some of us. Oh, it's intended to help, I know.
Well, if you're just trying to protect a bunch of Washington incompetents, Mr. Blair, I don't see why the...
I'm protecting no one, Mr. Peterson. We're all trying to protect ourselves. All right, that's all for tonight. I'll see you all and more, I hope, on Friday.
Say, Peterson. Peterson.
Yeah?
My name's Steve Crane. I'm the guy you cut in on.
Oh, well, I hope you weren't sore, huh?
Oh, no, on the contrary. Glad to see somebody else here with the nerve to talk up. Say, are you busy the rest of the evening?
No.
You and me seem to agree on a lot of things. Why don't you come on home with me for a drink and see what else we agree on?
Oh, don't go yet, Mr. Peterson. Can't I give you another drink?
No, thanks, Mrs. Crane. It's really time I went home.
Oh, I'm glad you came home with me, Peterson. Glad to know you and me see eye to eye on a lot of this civil defense stuff.
You bet, Crane. Well, thanks for a very pleasant evening, Mrs. Crane.
Maybe you'll come again. Give us a ring anytime.
I'll certainly bear that in mind. This way,
Yeah, I'll just do it.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, what do you make of him, Della?
Seems to have his heart in the right place.
Last 2 or 3 meetings, he's been backing me up, and good, too. Great little discourager. And all the time, he sounds like the doggonedest eager beaver you ever heard.
Maybe he'd make a super American.
That's what I thought.
It's time I tipped Mr. Hector anyway. He ought to be coming here to Finnsburg for a general look-see, and that's when he can meet Peterson.
You are listening to the case of the double-crossing defender on Counterspy.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if, like a lot of people, you just have a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. It's called MediShare. It's a Christian healthcare sharing program. There are more than 400,000 members now, and they love it. In fact, MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to that of health insurance. And MediShare really is the gold standard when it comes to healthcare sharing. It's been around more than 25 years. Members have shared more than $4 billion of each other's medical bills. Plus, MediShare is for you. It has saved its members billions by advocating on their behalf. Best of all, the typical savings for a family is around $6,000 a year. So if you think you're stuck with a high-cost health plan that doesn't have much to offer, think again. MediShare has a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and you are invited to be part of it. Call now. 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
One of our longtime listeners, Jed, loves these anti-communist espionage shows from the 50s, and he wishes we would do more of them. That's why we dug up Counterspy. From January 21st, 1951, the case of the double-crossing defender.
Now, back to Counterspy.
From Peters, assignment Finnsburg to David Harding, Washington. Chief cause of civil defense difficulty here, one Steve Crane, member of apparently patriotic group called Super America Incorporated. Mrs. Crane says Chief Super American Henry Harrison Hector of Baltimore Arriving here soon. Advise.
Harding to Peters. Spot check of 11 civil defense groups shows similar activity by persons belonging to Super America Incorporated and flying to Finnsburg.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. David Harding?
Yes?
I'm from the Finnsburg Press, Mr. Harding. I've been assigned to interview you about your trip here.
Oh, well, I don't see any other reporters, Mr.
Peterson, Mr. Harding. I guess I'm the first man here. I had an inside tip that you might be on this plane. I wonder if we could just step away from the crowd here.
Of course.
Tell me, how long do you expect to stay in our city, Mr. Harding?
Long enough to survey the civil defense organizations here.
Chief, this fellow Henry Harrison Hector is arriving in Finnsburg in a couple of days. Anything about Super America Incorporated?
Well, it describes itself as a super patriotic organization, but its literature follows the Communist Party line like one snake after another.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how's that tie in with what you know of Crane and his wife?
There are a couple of smarties, Dave. Crane gets in his dirty work by seeming to be a really good beaver. His wife has joined up, too. She does the same, but actually they discourage people. That seems to be the idea.
Probably following a national pattern.
Well, here come reporters from the other papers. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Harding, and lots of luck to you in your stay here.
I'll be at the Riverside Hotel, Peter.
Right.
Okay, Peterson. Tell your paper to get behind this campaign to step up civil defense. So long.
And here, Mr. Hector, here's a layout of the Civil Defense Control Center.
Very complete. Steve's work?
He's good at that sort of thing. He's down there tonight doing extra volunteer work, if you know what I mean.
These are the main phone lines?
The trunks run into the basement here. Main water valve there. Main power line here, and main switch next to it.
Radio room?
Second floor. Good setup, Steve says. Modern equipment. Big control board to keep in touch with radio hams in the city in case of attack.
Medical department? Aircraft spotting room?
Third floor. Phone communications with 100 observation posts in a big ring outside the city. And, here. Director's office. This man, Blair. We have a file on him and also his staff.
Good.
Liaison with police and fire departments, public health authorities, welfare and public information. Transportation here. Big garage, trucks, and so on.
A depressingly efficient setup, Dillon.
Sure. But what good is it? Unless the civil defense people themselves are really pepped up. And they're not. Your plan has been working beautifully.
And so I've heard from many other cities. It's lucky because actually these defense setups are good. If we can only keep the people so discouraged they don't use them to the fullest advantage.
That's where I thought this man Peterson might come in. We can always use new recruits.
Have you checked on him?
No, I haven't had the time. I hoped you might from Baltimore.
He's an unknown, Della. I think we better... Would that be...
I hope so. Put away that map.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mrs. Crane. I'm afraid I'm a few minutes late.
Hello. Come on in.
Thank you.
This is Harry Peterson, and this is Mr. Henry Harrison Hector, National Chairman of Super America Incorporated.
How do you do, sir?
Sit down, Mr. Peterson, and let's have a long, honest talk, shall we?
Mr. Harding, Peterson of the Finnsburg Press.
Oh, hello, Peterson.
Tonight I met the man, H.H.H.
Yes?
The scheme is to destroy civil defense morale. I gave him a lot of personal detail based on New York City. The same we've used before in similar cases.
Yes, I understand. I'll wire New York to back you up. If H.H.H. is on the level, he'll drop you because of your supposed record as a subversive. But if he's not on the level...
We'll see. I'll check you tomorrow. Good night.
Hello?
Chief, Peters. H.H.H. lost no time checking on me. It was 3 nights ago that I first met him. Tonight I had a call to meet him at the Crane's apartment.
Then he wants you in spite of your fake subversive record.
He may be our man.
Right. Well, I understand there's to be a test alert very soon. I hope we can run this down before that.
Steve, as I understand your duties at the control center, you are a guard at the main entrance.
That's right, Mr. Hector.
And Della?
Volunteer assistant at the medical center.
And our friend Peterson?
Information center, assistant to the director.
I've been thinking, and as super Americans, we must always think ahead of everyone else. An ordinary test alert is no test at all because everyone knows it's fake. Now, what if we make this a real alert? By spreading the alarm during the test that it's the real thing.
That's taking a chance, Mr. Hector.
At an appropriate moment, suddenly give a false report. Start shouting, it's the real thing, a real attack. You understand?
Brother.
There'll be a panic.
People injured and killed, Mr. Hector.
Suppose it were the real thing. People would be killed, would they not? You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Very well. That's all. Peterson, you leave first.
Okay. Good night, all. See you at the test, whenever it is.
I gather you got an okay report on Peterson, Mr. Hector?
Yes, from New York. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a valuable man.
January 21st, 1951, Counterspy. I'm Wyatt Cox. This is Classic Radio Theater on your favorite radio station.
Oh, come on, I hate you. You have no right to speak to me. You're stupid, you're evil. You believe in your God, guns, and gold. You shouldn't have the right to vote. We must fix this disgusting country now. We want socialism now.
Whoa there, little fella. Our U.S. Constitution protects your right to say these things, even if they are drivel.
Our founders believed in our inalienable rights granted by God, not some mafia. Our Bill of Rights protects your personal freedoms, your absolute right to speak to others, whether loving and kind or hateful and stupid.
Utopia doesn't exist. It only destroys. Millions of innocents slaughtered by the communists in Cambodia, China, and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
And millions of people were gassed by Hitler's National Socialist Party.
Where do you stand? Help us save the Constitution and restore our American dream. Go to SaveMyFreedom.com. That's SaveMyFreedom.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Now the conclusion of Counterspy in the case of the double-crossing defender, January 21st, 1951.
I'll get it, Della.
No, never mind, Steve. Hello? Oh, yes, Mr. Hector is right. Oh. Are you sure? Yes, I'll tell him. Thanks. Goodbye.
Huh?
That call's from New York, Mr. Hector. They checked further on Peterson. He's not all he said he was.
What?
He may be some kind of undercover agent. Oh, what a dumb mistake for us to make.
No regrets now. Steve.
Yeah?
During the test alert, see to it that Peterson is one of the people killed in the panic.
That ought to be easy. And when I...
Hey, what the...
The lights are blinking.
Steve, that's the first signal for the alert. We've got 15 minutes to get to our post.
Then get going. And remember your orders.
Radio operators to your sectors in Disaster Area 4. Radio operators, Disaster Area 4. Medical Corps and ambulances to Medical Post 7 and 13. 7 and 13. Report to communications on arrival. Trucks for utilities repair. Trucks for utilities repair to the boundaries of Disaster Area 4. Turn off gas and power lines to prevent explosions. Reopen blocked sewers. Guides for injured and homeless. Stay in your vehicles till you reach rallying points. Guide injured and homeless to shelters 9, 11, and 17. 9, 11, and 17.
Everything going all right, Blair?
So far, yes, Mr. Harding, but... Oh, here's one of the men I was telling you about. The one that's always spreading discouragement.
Oh?
His name's Peterson.
Hello, Mr. Blair. Oh, Mr. Harding, can I speak to you, sir?
Yes?
I just came from meeting Hector, Chief. They're going to start a panic. That it's a real attack.
It's a real fifth column trick.
I'll get 17.
All right, I'll alert one of our squads outside.
Hey, listen, everybody! This is no fake attack. It's real.
That's Steve Crane following orders.
The first bomb hit the suburbs. There's nothing left of him. There's nothing we can do. Save yourselves. The next bomb will hit the middle of the city. Save yourselves.
No, wait, everybody. Stand by your posts. No matter what happens, stand by your posts.
Don't listen to that fool. Save yourselves.
Chief, that's Hector himself among the crowd. Work your way near him, Peter.
Men, women, listen to this. This is Harding, United States Counterspy. Right. Listen to Mr. Harding. Now, don't be panicked by a rumor. This is the time to prove you're well-disciplined. Don't let anyone leave this room or the building. All right, back to Now, Mr. Blair, check your outpost. Right. Zone Director, to all spotters. Have any real bombs been dropped? Any real bombs? Not one, Mr. Harding. You see, it was a rumor, a deliberate rumor by fifth columnists trying to start a panic.
Crane was caught at the door, Mr. Harding, and here's the boss of the bunch, Henry Harrison Hector.
Well, the chief super-American himself.
Mr. Harding, you misunderstand our purpose. We wanted to make this a real test.
Well, that's too bad for you, Hector. One of your newest recruits is going to be the star witness against you and your organization. Take him away, Peter.
Come on, Hector.
Mr. Harding, I'm very grateful for your help. But are we past the danger?
Well, as long as there's danger of war, Blair, there's the danger of fifth column. And the best protection against them is vigilance and courage. You've done it here. I know every American can do it.
Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by Marks B. Loeb, dramatized by Paul R. Milton, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel-Kramer. Lionel Rico speaking. Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production.
I've mentioned this before, but Phillips H. Lords didn't get along with the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover after some stuff that was done on gangbusters. And so that's why, instead of being an FBI show, Counterspy, a totally fictitious agency. January 21st, 1951, the Counterspy on Classic Radio Theater. Mike Lindell, the inveterate CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to listeners. You can get great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Deep discounts on all MyPillow products, like the buy one, get one free special on Giza Dream Sheets. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. Call 1-800-951-8175 or go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Use my promo code USA. So you may remember a little while ago on Classic Radio Theater, we had an episode of Lum-n-Abner in which Lum-n-Abner were starting a matrimonial agency. Well, now not only are they trying to do matchmaking, they're also giving matrimonial advice. January 21st, 1935, Lum-n-Abner.
When Lum-n-Abner announced over the party line a few days ago that they were opening up a matrimonial bureau in Pine Ridge and offering free advice on domestic problems, little did the old fellows realize the enormous response that they would receive. For the last few days, they've been swamped with letters from everywhere, subscribing to their service and seeking their advice on domestic problems. As we look in on Pine Ridge today, we find Lum-n-Abner over at Lum's house, where they've been busy all day answering letters. Listen.
Here's one from Crawfordville, Indiana.
Crawfordville.
Gentlemen, I heard your talk over the party line the other day, and you said you would help those interested in matrimony. Please help me find a nice young man who would make me a good husband.
Yeah.
I prefer a man who lives in the city and would like a tall brunette, but would consider a short blonde.
She ain't very choicy, then.
No. I am enclosing a picture of myself. I am 5 foot 1 inch tall.
Let me see your picture, then.
Yeah, that's it, right there.
Mm-hmm. Right, pretty, ain't she?
Yeah, Lord, she oughtn't to have no trouble finding her man. And she goes on here, says, I am 18-year-old and graduated
Graduated.
from high school.
Well,
I can cook and take care of a house.
Huh?
Well, that's what it says here in the letter.
Oh.
Please find me a young man as soon as possible. Miss L-R-R-L-B it is.
Yeah, put that over there in that stack, yeah.
Yeah.
Granny, it's mostly women folks wanting to get married, looks like. What we need here is some letters from men folks.
Well, there's some letters there from men, Long.
Yeah, but none of them never sent no pictures of themselves.
No.
These women folks want to see what a fella looks like before they get married.
Yeah.
Love's blind, all that stuff, but not plumb blind.
Well, here's another one from a woman here. It says, yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, she ain't looking for no husband. She's just wanting some advice on how to handle the one she's got.
Good. What do she wants to know?
Says, my problem is, every morning my husband gets up and sits behind the stove. So when I want to sleep, I have
sleep.
Sweep. When I want to sweep, I have to sweep around him. Could you tell me how to make him move? Yours very truly, L.R.A., East Peoria, Illinois.
Well, that ought to be easy.
Yeah, sure. She just ought to get up early to do her sweeping. She ought to have a house cleaned up before he gets out of bed.
And she ought to take that broom and use it on him instead of the floor. Whop him one.
Well, maybe that's the reason he gets back there, so he can keep the stove between him and her. I know just how he feels. I've got behind him myself. I've had Elizabeth chase me around the stove trying to swing a broom at me.
Well, the way this letter sounds, she ain't mad at him, though. He's just in the way back there.
Yeah, well, of course, maybe the back side of the stove is the warmest, too, you know.
She could take and turn the stove around then, so the back of it be in front.
Yeah. Or she could put 2 front doors on it, and then there wouldn't be no back to it. But that'd be a lot of bother to put herself to, though.
Yeah, let's see. She could make him do the sweeping.
Reckon he'll come out to eat?
Huh?
I say, you reckon he'll come out from behind there to eat?
I don't know. She never said there in the letter.
Well, I just thinking now, she might sort of coax him out with his breakfast, you know, sort of toll him out from behind there like you would a cat with a saucer of milk, you know.
I don't know as I ever heard of a problem like this before. A feller just gets in back of a stove that way and won't come out at all.
Yeah, bet you I'd get him out from behind there. I'd build such a fire in that stove to where he'd have to move.
Yeah, and it'd be too hot for her to sweep back there then.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me see that letter.
Yeah, that's got me stumped. I don't know what to do.
Well, we've got to figure it out some way.
Yeah, or two.
She says, every morning my husband gets up and sits behind the stove. So when I want to sweep, I have to sweep around him.
Yeah.
Of course, she could put a swing in back of the stove there to where his feet'd be clean up off the floor, and then she could sweep under him.
Well, why don't you just move the stove so far back in the corner that he can't get behind it? She could do that.
And she's liable to set the house on fire, too.
Well, that ought to get him out from behind there anyway.
Well, Abner, she can't burn the house down every morning just to get him out.
No. How would it do for her to just take the stove out, just take it down, not have no stove back there?
Could you tell me how to make him move?
Huh?
That's the rest of this letter.
Oh. Well, now, let's see now. How to make him move, huh?
Yeah.
Well, now, that ain't a bad idea, no. If they could move into a house with round rooms in it, why, then there wouldn't be no corners for him to get back in. They could do that.
Who ever heard of a house with round rooms in it?
Well, I did. The roundhouse down there in the railroad yard at the county seat.
Well, people don't live in them, Abner. Read some more letters here. I see right now I'm going to have to study over that in a while. There's ways to make that feller move, all right.
Oh, yeah, lots of ways, yeah. She could set off a charge of dynamite under him. That'd move him.
Yeah, but she don't want to hurt him, Abner. According to the letter, that's the only bad fault he's got, is just crawling up behind the stove and refusing to move.
Yeah. Well, here's one from Amory, Mississippi.
Amory.
Yeah, it's from a man. Says he's got 9 children, and all of them like something different to eat.
Oh, yeah.
Well, can you suggest how my wife can solve this problem, as she can't cook 9 different things at every meal?
Oh, well, she could just take what they all like and cook it up together and call it hash. That's easy.
Yeah, she could do that. Now, let's see, here's a feller from San Antonio, Texas. Well, well, you read this, Lum. I can't make out that writing there.
He must have wrote this with his left hand. Gentlemen, I love my wife very much, but every time we get in a argument, she packs up her clothes and runs home to her mother. Can you help me? Yours truly,
John J.W.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth used to do the same thing when we was first married.
You ought to be able to help him then. What did you do?
Why, well, I just had her mother come live with her. That stopped it for a while.
For a while?
Yeah, and then finally, well, her and her mother both packed up and left.
Well, quit you, huh?
Well, they thought they had, but I just packed up and went with them. Yeah, we lived with her folks for about 2 years there.
Well, I ain't going to tell this feller down there in San Antonio to do that.
Well, no, I wouldn't either them. No, Elizabeth's folks wouldn't want perfect strangers to move in on them that way. No. Besides, they've been dead for years, yeah.
Well, I'd love to help this feller. I feel kind of sorrowful for him.
Well, I tried everything to break Elizabeth. But the best way is to just let them go. They'll come back. They'll break themselves of that habit if you just not pay no attention to them. They just keep it up just so long, just as long as you run and beg them to come back. Well, they'll go to their mammoth every time.
That's pretty good advice right there. We'll just write him that.
Are you ready for another?
Yeah. Let me have some of them letters over here, too.
Yeah, we never will get through this way. Lord, there's a lot of them.
All these in this stack is wanting us to find him a husband, huh?
Yeah, there's some good lookers in there, too. Oughtn't to have no trouble finding them a man tall.
Yeah, but we've got to have some men's pictures to send them. They'll be getting encouraged here.
Yeah, well, here's another one wanting to find her husband.
Let's see her.
You always want to look at them, huh?
Uh-huh. Pretty. Where's she from?
Yeah, Bardwell, Kentucky.
Too far. Here's one from Hazen, Arkansas.
Hazen, huh?
2 girls writing in. Well, it's in case we do find a husband for them, they want us to, let's see, yeah, they want to get their 6 months free advice.
Well, I do know. Here's one from a woman 82-year-old, huh?
Well, look at this. Well, here's a feller that sent a whole batch of pictures of himself.
Well.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
That looks right smart like you, Abner. Where'd these come from?
Let's see it. Why, that is me. Yeah, that's some pictures that I sent in for her.
Sent in for her?
Yeah, I was in the county seat about a month ago, and a feller had a Kodak right there on the street and just take my picture while I was walking along.
Well, I do know. That's a right good picture of you. Don't look much like you at all.
Yeah, they don't. They turned out uncommonly well. He give me a special price if I'd take a dozen, so I just ordered a dozen of them.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Granny, that gives me an idea. Abner, them pictures is just what we was needing. We can send them to these women folks that's writing in looking for husbands.
Well, wait a minute here, Lum. I ain't wanting to get married. I've got a wife and daughter down in Texas now if I can get them back up here.
Oh, well, you don't have to get married. We've got to send them something so they know we're on the lookout for them a husband.
Yeah, well, Lum, I'd heap rather not do that.
Well, Abner, you want to make a success with this Matrimonial Bureau, don't you?
Well, yeah, but Lum,
we've got to send out some pictures to these women that's looking for husbands or they'll think we can't find them none.
They will.
This will let them know we're working on it, and these will keep them satisfied till we can get them some more pictures to send them.
Yeah.
You ain't got nothing to worry about. Ain't nobody going to fall in love with a face like that, nohow. Give me them pictures. I'll just set right down now and mail out the whole dozen.
Well, we don't know, but we're afraid that Lum has talked Abner into something here that he is going to regret.
January 21st, 1935, Lum-n-Abner on Classic Radio Theater. And now...
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. At the immigration station on Rose Wharf in Boston, Mary, Harry, Pop, Calvin, and Miss Rogers have just passed through customs. Now we hear Greg Marlowe explaining why Miss Rogers must return to New York and not appear in Westchester Furioso.
I've made arrangements with a psychiatrist in New York, Miss Rogers, who assures me that with proper treatment, he can take care of your dippa-dippa-does, your dippa-dippa-doos.
Say, that's wonderful news, Greg. Oh, I see Miss Rogers is very happy to hear that news.
Yes, he said it a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, and he thinks he can steer you out of that. It's a mental block with you, he said, and he thinks he can straighten it out.
It only happens when she tries to talk, you know. She can sing perfectly.
And unfortunately, Miss Rogers, we'll have to eliminate you, of course, from the touring Westchester Furioso. But I want you to know this, Miss Jerry Rogers, that we've admired your spunk, and you've added a lot to Westchester Furioso, the short time that we considered having your song in the show.
Yes, that goes for me too, Greg, although I can't say it the same for Mary. I guess she's a little bit relieved to see Miss Rogers leave the cast.
Oh, right? I don't know. I just hope that Miss Rogers gets her dipper-dipper-doo straightened out, and maybe she could join us when we get up to Vermont or up Cape Cod later with Westchester Furioso.
Going to miss hearing that song that you added to the show. Do you suppose she could sing it one more time?
Wait a minute, Miss Rogers, speaking for the rest of the cast of Westchester Furioso, before you leave to have your dipper-dipper-dups and your dipper-dipper-doos repaired, I wonder, would you favor us once more with that song that you sang?
Yeah, we'd love to hear it again.
Beautiful Midori.
Would you do it for us?
Dipper-dipper-doo, dipper-dipper-da.
So strange, she could sing so well.
It's part of her mental block.
Where enchantment surrounds you, merely taking your breath away. Friendly people will greet you with their smiles warm and tenderly. It's a bit of paradise underneath the starry sky. Missouri for me.
Oh, that was great, Miss Rogers. Thank you.
Dipper-dipper-da.
And we'll all miss you, but good luck. Dipper-doo to you, too.
Yeah, dipper to you, Miss Rogers, and we'll see you again real soon.
Now we're off for Chelsea. And so our friends have arrived in Boston. You want to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Greg Marlowe say,
"On stage, everybody."
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
Bob and Ray on Classic Radio Theater. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Would you please take a moment to thank this radio station and support their advertisers? It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around right here on your favorite station. And please support the advertisers because they pay the bills to keep this radio station on the air. It is their kindness and courtesy, both the station and the advertisers, that we continue to be right here. Please visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. You can find classic radio resources there. You can learn more about building a collection of your own. You can find our contact information. You can hear our shows on demand. Just go by classicradio.stream, and it'll tell you all you need to know. By golly. And please, if you miss a day on this station, you don't have to miss a single show. All you have to do is go to any of the big aggregators like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, all of them. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's a new name, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite radio station.